All right, everybody. Good evening and welcome to episode 64 of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. I'm your host, Joe Landy Pavlon. Alongside me for tonight, I have Daniel Ford, who is eating dinner, and Austin LaPlante. Happy birthday!
One day old though, or one day later.
Late birthday.
It's the 21st. It's the 22nd.
Well, that's great. Wow, what a race at Talladega we just had this afternoon. A wild 500-mile thriller, and it came down to the very end of the race. And we're going to just jump right into this. Ryan Blaney, who's seen it all. He started 12th, car number 12 started 12th. He led 63 laps and finished first, just .007 ahead of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who was charging at the end. And Ryan Blaney has now won back-to-back Talladega 500s. This is his fourth career win, and now all three Penske drivers have won in 2020.
Hooray for them.
Well, let's go down and look at the top 10 before we get any further. So here are the finishers. Obviously, Blaney first, but Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who won in 2017, about 3 years ago, started 20th, led 5 laps, believe it or not. He was up front the entire race and finished second. Eric Almirola, third, after starting 15th, the 2018 winner, had a pretty up and down day. Denny Hamlin was saved by that caution. The caution when Harvick and Johnson made contact. Hamlin finished fourth, started second, led 18 laps. Eric Jones, man, he was close. 3 wide on the outs, actually in the middle. With Nemechek trying to make it 3 wide on the outside before the line. And wow, Jones hit the wall. He kind of got turned
by Blaney. In a sense.
Yeah. Started 18th. He had a very up and down race, and was heading into this event with a lot of scrutiny from fans and drivers alike, because the other 3 Gibbs cars are performing, but Jones is all behind them. Chris Buescher, 6th place after leading 4 laps and starting 21st. Alex Bowman led 10 laps, finished 7th. John Hunter Nemechek finished in the 8th spot, and that is his best career finish. John Hunter Nemechek, 1 spot better than he did at Darlington.
I thought he was going to win for a sec. He came that close. He somehow, surged, and he was the first car caution as well.
Yeah.
Besides competition and stages.
Finishing 9th was Kurt Busch, who was relatively out in front, but never led a lap. He only seen the front, really. Started 7th, and then 10th place, the heartbreak driver number 1, Kevin Harvick, who was leading at the white flag. And obviously, not too many people have seen the replay yet. I have, but I will tell you, I believe Kevin Harvick ran out of fuel coming out of turn 4 in the final lap. Well, first of all, Harvick only led 2 laps. The last 3 laps, except the white flag, or except the checkered flag. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, top 10 it is. 11th place, William Byron led 11 laps. Ty Dillon finished 12th. Jimmy Johnson, heartbreak driver, number 2.
I still think he got spun on purpose. There was no room for Harvick, and yet he's still trying to make a move. I don't know.
I think that was just a product of late race drama at Talladega that we see year in and year out. I don't see anything different here. But Harvick was a little aggressive. At least Johnson was able to get a top 15 out of it. He only let a lap, but still, the outcome could have really, really been different. And we'll get into fuel a little bit later as we're done reading the results here. One spot beneath. Bubba Wallace led a lap. Started 24th, finished 14th. Another top 15 for Bubba Wallace in the Victory Junction livery for this week, driving for Richard Petty Motorsports. And that was a very, very trying 24 hours he's had to endure. And we'll get more.
You should definitely talk about that when Daniel comes in, because he's the more infected out of all the people who have been on this podcast for over a year and a half, a year and a quarter about.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely bring that subject up when he comes back, if he's around. Let's see, Ryan Preece. This was an important race. Ryan Preece only had one finish outside the top 12. One finish inside the top 12 all year long. And that was his only top 15. Now he gets another. Talladega led 3 laps, started 31st, and really played the patience game. And Corey LaJoie, who was involved in the first wreck on the final lap, which was in turn 3, LaJoie managed to crawl it back around the line at 16th. Joey Logano led 33 laps, finished 17th. Michael McDowell, Brad Keselowski, the only Penske driver not to lead at all, and Tyler Reddick. Ooh. You know this driver's getting good when a 20th place finish stings. 19 laps led, started 16th. He had a really good car, but that caution just didn't work in his favor. Well, I also think that just thinking about it, Reddick is going to win before anybody else, and I'm holding on to that. Time's ticking.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah. Brendan Gaughan, who relatively runs up front, just didn't have the best luck. 21st, Cole Custer, 22nd. Ryan Newman failed the fuel game. The 6 team, they really thought they had it by staying up, but then they had to make the ultimate sacrifice heading to the pits before the final restart. Martin Truex Jr. led 4 laps from the pole, finished 24th. Clint Bowyer, Max Benedetto, Quinn Houff 27th, Christopher Bell, an abysmal 20.
No. It's now reported that he's 29th with Daniel Suarez in 28th. Racing Reference has a sort of official results on their website.
Yeah, 28th was Suarez went bad. Let me see here. Ray Galding, BJ McLeod, who was in for James Davison. We'll see Davison this weekend at Pocono.
2 races.
Mm-hmm. Kyle Busch led 5 laps. He had a really good car, but never recovered from that flat tire. Started 3rd, finished 32nd. Timmy Hill, Garrett Smithley. They didn't start in park at all, but they never had the car to keep up with the leaders. Brendan Poole. I felt bad for Brendan Poole. He led a lap and started 27th and finished 35th after wrecking J.J. Yaley. Joey Gaze was involved in a crash. He was in the same crash with Brendan Poole. Chase Elliott and Austin Dillon. Elliott may have led 3 laps, but he had a really good car just before the wreck happened. And Austin Dillon has obviously fell into the victim category, just nowhere to go. And then Matt Kenseth finishing last place with a rear hub failure.
That's basically it for those standings.
Well, so now the standings look like this. Obviously, the results are not, they're not, what's the word, official, but the standings look like this. Kevin Harvick has a 23-point lead over Joey Logano. Ryan Blaney minus 25th. Now, Blaney jumped right back into the top 5 in points here. Chase Elliott minus 32. Brad Keselowski minus 49. Denny Hamlin minus 62. Martin Truex Jr. minus 67. Alex Bowman minus 71. Kyle Busch minus 112. And Kurt Busch minus 121. Now, if you want to look at the full playoff picture, drivers with wins: Denny Hamlin, 3 wins. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski with 2. So second, third, fourth. Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, P5 through 8 with 1 win, respectively. And then after that, it's Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Eric Almirola, Clint Bowyer, William Byron, Matt DiBenedetto, and Tyler Reddick. And then outside Tyler Reddick would be Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Chris Buescher, and 20th place Ricky Stenhouse Jr. The next race, we'll have 2 races, which will be at Pocono for the Pocono 350. That will be
Sunday thing.
Saturday and Sunday, rounds 14 and 15 of 34. Obviously, we don't know how many.
I'm pretty sure it's 325.
Yeah, Sunday's race is a little bit shorter than Saturday's.
No. Saturday will be 325, 350 for Sunday.
Okay. We'll get more into Pocono later on, and we'll get into the bubble wall situation after the podcast. Let's continue on with race stats. So the NASCAR Xfinity Series had their race on Saturday. Now, this was bizarre. I think a lot of drivers would have bet against drivers like Justin Allgaier wrecking out, or Harrison Burton, Riley Herbst, Chase Briscoe not being in the picture at the end. But things happen, So the results, obviously, Justin Haley took the win after winning stage 1, 16 laps from the pole. That was his first career win for Colleague Racing and in the Xfinity Series, and he joins that club of drivers who won in NASCAR's top 3 divisions. He's the first driver since Chase Elliott to do that. And I'm going to try to find me some stats here. Actually, Justin Haley is the 32nd driver to do that, and has joined. So the last 5 drivers to do that, obviously Justin Haley, Chase Elliott, Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, and Austin Dillon. Second place was Ross Chastain. Led 24 laps from 9th off the grid. Jeb Burton, 3rd. Jeb Burton led 8 laps, started 8th. Career best finish. Well done for the Daytona 500 champion son of Junior Motorsports. Austin Cindric.
Close again for winning on an oval.
Yep, 8 laps led. Started 7th. Brett Moffitt, career best finish of 5th after starting 20th, driving for Our Motorsports. Well done to that team. Let me see who else we have here. Anthony Alfredo finished 6th, led 5 laps, started 10th. AJ Allmendinger started 34th, finished 7th. Great run for Colleague Racing. They have every reason to be happy. Greg Goulding finished in 8th after starting 21st. Remember, Goulding almost won last year. 9th place, Alex LaBay. And 10th place, Noah Gragson. He led 19 laps, started 5th. Notables include Michael Annett, who led 11 laps from 2nd off the starting grid. Jesse Little, career best finish of 13th, So good for him. Driving for JD Motorsports. Chase Briscoe, who won stage 2, led 15 laps, started 4th, finished 18th. Mason Massey, career best finish of 20th, started 35th after a grid penalty. Good run for Massey and the BJ McLeod Motorsports team. Justin Allgaier, forgettable finish for that team. After leading 2 laps and starting 12th, he retired and finished 28th. Harrison Burton also retired, finishing 32nd after leading 3 laps, and so did Riley Herbst, 37th. So, what can you say about Saturday?
Not what people wanted to expect it for the big name guys. Good, but a good race for the small teams, mainly for Johnny Davis. And again, Mario Goslin, Tommy Joe, Martins, and decent finishes for BJ McLeod as well.
Yeah, not just for BJ himself, but for his cars. BJ got 23rd. Really good finish. And one thing that kind of broke my heart watching the end of that race was when RSS Racing all had issues, especially Jeff Green. Jeff Green is a starting park driver for RSS Racing. He doesn't run the best equipment, but they always save the best for him at Talladega, knowing that he has a chance to keep up with the pack. And Jeff Green finished 29th after being involved in a wreck, just one spot above his car owner and teammate Ryan Sieg, who started 3rd. Mike Snyder retired on lap 105 and finished 27th. Mike Snyder will go for the entire Xfinity Series championship. So their next race will be the Pocono Green 225 on Saturday for round 12 of the season. And the point standings, Noah Gragson has the points lead at 469 over Chase Briscoe, 454. Austin Cindric's 426 points, placed him in 3rd, while Ross Chastain is claiming 422. Harrison Burton is 5th with 399 points. Justin Haley is 6th, 385. Brandon Jones, 375 points claimed so far. A little bit off lately for Brandon Jones. Justin Allgaier, who has dropped even further, down to 8th with 337 so far. Michael Annett is 9th, 296 points claimed, and Ryan Sieg is 10th with 273. So yeah, once again, they'll be racing at Pocono for a short 225-mile event. We also had an ARCA Series race on Saturday, and that, just like the Cup Series, had a bizarre finish.
Yeah, put me to sleep.
Yeah, I guess
21 cars started
a little sleepy, and like 1/4 of the field were starting parks. But you know what? It's ARCA, and it's understandable. We have the pandemic. A lot of teams pulled out or temporarily sitting on the sidelines, which is understandable. We have to start somewhere. But Drew Dollar, and I'm sorry if you're watching this, Drew, but Drew Dollar cashed in victory.
I'm pretty sure that was my pick last Monday.
Yes, it was. It was. I went back to watch the podcast. My pick did not win the race. He was the guy that finishing 5th, Michael Self. There were only 2 leaders the entire race. Drew Dollar led 40 laps, started 2nd. Ryan Repka, who was on the pole, finished 2nd for Venerini. 2 Venerini cars, 1 and 2. Brett Holmes, still looking for that first win in the ARCA Menards Series, finished 3rd after starting 6th. Riley Herbst,
leading and
finished 4th.
Yeah.
Led 36 laps. Started 4th, and Michael Self, who started 5th, finished 5th.
Tried to put a Hail Mary 2 laps ago and did an amazing save.
Amazing save, but nonetheless, that doesn't take anything away from losing at Talladega. The only 7 cars finished on the lead lap. DGR Crosley Racing's Tad Moffitt and Haley Deegan finished 6th and 7th. Jason Kitzmiller 1 lap down 8th. Sean Court 9th. And then Papa for Andy Hillenberg's wife, Michelle Hillenberg's team, finished in 10th. Tanner Gray finished 13th after having issues, never recovered, finished 2 laps down. Gus Dean retired with an engine failure. And the standings look like this. Michael Self has the points lead 11 ahead of Drew Dollar. Haley Deegan is third, minus 14. Brett Holmes, fourth, minus 24. And Tad Moffitt, fifth, minus 27. So many of the guys in the top 10 will not run the full ARCA season, including Tanner Gray, Riley Herbst, Sean Corr, Ryan Huff, and Tim Richmond. But drivers like Michael Self, Drew Dollar, Haley Deegan are going to be putting up a pretty good fight for the rest of the season. And there's only 16 races so far. They return this weekend at Pocono for round 4 of 16.
So, Pocono is right around the corner, and we've seen Harrison Burton when he was in ARCA and how he performed the last couple of, I think it's a couple of years ago, or was it last year? I'm pretty sure it was last year.
I think it was last year.
Last year. Yesterday he got the win. You know, coming from Venturini, you know, I honestly want to see someone else. Let's see what they can do, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get more into that later on. We had another race. I'm here just reading off the others for the others series. We had NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour at Jennerstown for the Wade Cole Memorial in honor of driver the late Wade Cole. For round 1 of 11, Justin Bonsignor led every lap en route to the win over Craig Lutz. John McKennedy finished third. Matt Hirsch went fourth, and Carroll finished in fifth. Standings obviously match the results because one race was complete. And their next race will be on the 4th of July at White Mountain for race 2 of 11.
Yeah.
First time they're going there.
Yes.
When it was known as the Busch North Series, they went there twice. Currently, if they didn't go there, only the American Canadian Tour goes up there.
Right. Now, also, lastly, we'll get into some two-wheeled action as the Monster Energy Supercross Series, the AMA dirt bike thriller that never fails to disappoint, has come to a close for 2020 at Salt Lake City, Utah for round 16 and 17 of their 17-race calendar. Race 1 on Wednesday was won by Cooper Webb and his KTM. Eli Tomac brought the Kawasaki to finishing second. Zach Osborne's Husqvarna finished third. Ken Roxon brought his Honda to fourth. And Jason Anderson's Husqvarna finished in fifth. And race 2, the final race of the season, was won by Zach Osborne, first-time winner in the Supercross Series, his first main event victory. Congrats to the Husqvarna team. They finished first, second, and third. Jason Anderson, you know how he lost the race? His seat fell off. His seat cushion fell off with 3 laps to go. Dean Wilson rounds out the Husqvarna trio. Malcolm Stewart, fourth in a Honda. And Kawasaki's Eli Tomac, congratulations. His first championship in the Supercross ranks. After years of trying. And he does it on Father's Day.
That was great, man. Unfortunately, you know, me being a Roxon fan felt very disappointed this year, but you know, it is what it is. And congrats to Eli Tomac. He very well deserved that one.
Yeah. As for the final standings, Eli Tomac won the championship over Cooper Webb, Ken Roxon, Jason Anderson, Justin Barsha, Malcolm Stewart, um, Zach Osborne, Dean Wilson, Justin Brayton, and Justin Hill. 250 West champion was Dylan Ferrandis, and 250 East champion was Chase Sexton. And as for the motocross season, AMA motocross season, the season has been confirmed to start on July 18th in a race called the Ironman in Mechanicsville, um, Indiana, which will be race 1 of 12. Obviously, everything is still pending due to the pandemic,
Yeah.
but we do know we'll get the first race underway at Illinois, or at the state of Illinois. Tammy Lee says, late coming in. Sorry. I'm sure he already covered it out, but what was y'all's take on the Harvick Johnson thing? Danny, I know you're a Jimmy Johnson fan, so I'm just going to let you sound off on this.
Man, Johnson was coming up to the lead with 3 to go. Just became 3 to go. 4 turn-ins, 3 to go. And Harvick comes right behind him and turns him. Just when we think and we can't get any any closer to a win, something always happens. And at this point, I'm fed up with it. Harvick, you have hell to pay.
I think he paid it for sputtering on the final lap, finishing 10th.
Oh, he's got a lot more than that coming. So.
While this race was a treat for us fans, we must understand what happened at the racetrack on Saturday night. And Danny, now that you're here, I want to get into what happened. So if you've been living under a rock,
yeah,
then you've been missing out on something awful. And so basically in the garage area.
Yeah.
As the race, which was supposed to be yesterday due to the rain, was pushed to today, was called off, canceled. Cars were pushed back to the garage area and rested in the paddock till tomorrow. Somebody left a noose in Bubba Wallace's garage stall, and it was found by one of the 43 team crew members and was brought to NASCAR's attention. And it's just one of the most despicable acts of hatred that I've seen in a long time as a NASCAR fan for over 15 years. And Danny, I'm gonna leave this to you. How did NASCAR handle the situation?
You know, when I think NASCAR handled the situation like very swiftly in a way as far as opening up an investigation onto who left this noose that was in garage stall of Boba. And me just even thinking about who left it there, it makes me wonder, why would you go so low in your life to leave a message like that? Like, seriously, especially when it's during a time like this, where there is so much unrest here in America. Why would you do something so low when every sports league, including NASCAR, is trying to make a change here? And you know, pre-race ceremonies, and I actually saw this on Instagram. I was at work today. Um, with the way how the entire community surrounded Bubba before the race started, you know, I honestly nearly cried. I really did cry, you know, and it just shows that we're not alone when it comes to a situation like this because this act is very, very unforgivable. And I am praying to God that whoever is found will be banned from the sport permanently.
And that was actually made in a conference call that was actually simulcasted on ESPN2 just an hour before the race started. And I think Bubba Wallace handled the situation like a gentleman. He's been through pretty much everything just to be in this situation he is in his racing career. And I said it just before I gave Danny the mic, but I've been watching the sport for over 15 years. My whole life is surrounded by motorsports,
Yeah,
but NASCAR primarily is
yeah.
what I watch.
I've been following NASCAR for 16 years. I started watching in 2004, and I've never seen anything like this.
Neither have I, but I would definitely um, reiterate that NASCAR is about racing. It's not a place for racial inequality. It's not a place for hatred, um, racism, sexism. They have no place in NASCAR. They don't have no place anywhere in sports. Um, I would definitely go miles against what happened. And I woke up angry beyond words.
Yeah, I honestly could not sleep last night when I found the news. When I found out the news on Sunday, you know, because like I said before, we're really trying to make a change and learning and listening to what others are going through and what others are suffering through, you know.
Yes.
And at this point, man, I think the pre-race ceremony today at Talladega really set the bar on how we're trying to come together and how we unite with each other.
Here's something that bothers me about the situation is that I I'm one who is quick to convince people to watch NASCAR. I love sharing my interests with people that may or may not um, be familiar with the sport of auto racing. And if you know, I have equal passion to all forms of motorsports.
Right.
But in the end, we're all watching because we love cars on track. We love motorsports. The passion of racing is extraordinary. However, it's come to the point where I've seen a lot of people of those who I've tried to convince to get into the sport a little bit, especially now during the pandemic. There has been a few people that have said, "That's not my sport. NASCAR's for white people. NASCAR is not for me. I wouldn't go to a race," and that hurts. I mean, I've heard this from fans of Formula One, IndyCar, other fellow disciplines of motorsports.
Yeah.
People have been discouraged just based off the perception of NASCAR. The people have been discouraged from the stereotype of NASCAR and the target audience to the point where they don't even feel comfortable getting into the sport. Like the door has been slammed on them, and I can't blame them.
Yeah, I
There are a
can't
lot of
blame
fans
them
out,
either. You
there are a
know,
lot of fans out there who still act very ignorant on social media, and
and I
I
think
don't like. No,
more.
go on.
Yeah, I honestly think the fans on social media have also had something to do with it. You know,
Absolutely.
and it's like, when is enough enough? You know, seriously.
I see a lot of ignorance on social media, especially from a certain group of people that I've seen on Facebook. Um, it's disturbing. It's wrong, and that's going to hold NASCAR. That's going to hold back NASCAR from reaching the mainstream conversations. If we're continuously going to end up on the map for the wrong reasons, then I don't know. I mean, what happened last night was sick. It's a sick, heinous act, and Steve O'Donnell made it clear there'll be a lifetime ban given to the person who made this cruel decision to do such a horrible thing. Whether they work for NASCAR because fans were not allowed the infield.
That's what it's
and on
fine.
top of
That's
that,
what I find it scary.
yeah,
That's
and
where
on
I
top,
find it scary. Unless somehow someone impersonated to be a worker.
Could be a cleaner. There's a lot of cleaning demands
That's what I.
lately.
That's what I think. I'm sorry, but
and on
that's what I
top of
think right
that,
here. Oh, excuse me.
and on top of that, the garage area is always secure when no Cup Series practice is going on, no Xfinity Series practice, or even the Truck Series. There, it's always a secure area. No fans can go in there,
But here's another thing.
except
Talladega is a very spacious track.
when it's a race day.
Talladega is a very spacious track,
Yeah,
and we saw planes flying over on Sunday before the supposed race was supposed to start. Obviously, that wasn't the case. It happened today, but there was a flag, a Confederate flag, on a small private plane flying over the racetrack during pre-race on Sunday that said "Defund NASCAR." And then on top of that, the entire race weekend, we saw pictures of people driving in vehicles with Confederate flags sticking out on the racetrack. And my message to you is that you're not just doing this to hurt NASCAR, but you're hurting yourself.
yeah, you're the problem here. You're the problem that we're talking about here.
And I've
When are
seen,
you gonna
I've seen
look in the
posts.
mirror and
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
see that you're a problem, part of the problem, and try to fix what is going on and try to change what's happening, especially during a time when it's so much unrest happening.
Yeah, there's been a lot of unrest, and we're here to talk racing. This is again why we cover motorsports every week. It's my favorite time of the week to come on here Monday nights
Same
with
here,
you guys and talk motorsports.
man. Same here.
But it takes one or two evil acts that we just can't forget that humanity matters. Sometimes sports comes second, and this is definitely a case. And I'm so proud of Bubba Wallace. He may have finished 14th. He had a really good car. Could have won the thing if Fuel didn't get the better of him at the end, which obviously
Yeah,
many drivers fell victim to fuel.
I honestly really was proud of Bubba Wallace today, man. If the caution didn't come out, if a caution that came out during that time with like 20 something laps left, he would have been up front to win the damn thing.
Yeah, he would have hit fuel. Here's the funny thing about the race though is a lot of these guys they planned on that caution coming out for a big one towards the end, but no, it didn't happen. It was just Johnson going around battling for the race lead, and people were running out of fuel. Some weren't. Some weren't. Here's the thing: seeing NASCAR's moving, salute of respect to Bubba Wallace, and watching everybody bring Bubba Wallace's car from the garage to pit lane was very, very moving. So I think we've had that covered. Now let's talk about what we're about to see in the future. This upcoming weekend, we have the NASCAR Cup Series, Pocono 350, rounds 14 and 15 of 34. The Xfinity Series, Pocono 225, round 12 of 30. The Truck Series will have the Pocono 150. They had a week off. This past weekend will be round 6 of 19. Supercars, welcome back. We're going to get into supercars later. I can't wait to talk about that.
Here we go.
The Sydney Super Sprint, which is week 2 of 10, rounds 3, 4, and 5 of 20. And the VLN returns. Yes, basically the rec league of the Nürburgring for race 1 of 8. They come back this weekend, and we'll get into sports cars and all that fun stuff. But let's get into Pocono for rounds 14 and 15. Last year, Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin took respective victories, but we're not having 400-mile races this time around as we have a double header for the first time in a long time for NASCAR. The first race was back in 1974, won by Richard Petty. Jeff Gordon has the most victories at this racetrack, and down the list, Bill Elliott has 5, as well as Denny Hamlin. Hamlin actually swept as a rookie back in 2006. His first 2 wins were at Pocono. Tim Richmond, Rusty Wallace, Darrell Waltrip have 4 victories at Pocono. Bobby Allison, Jeffrey Bodine, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Dale Jarrett, Jimmy Johnson, and Bobby Labonte have 3 wins at Pocono. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Harry Gant, Casey King, Terry Labonte, Jeremy Mayfield, Richard Petty, Tony Stewart, Kelly Yarborough, and Martin Truex Jr. have 2 wins here. Most team wins for the spring race: Hendrick Motorsports with 11, Joe Gibbs Racing with 6, Penske has 3, while Dygar Motorsports, Robert Yates Racing, Stewart Haas Racing, and Furniture Row Racing have 2 wins each there. As for the spring race of Pocono, most make wins: Chevy with 18 over Ford with 10.
And Toyota with
4.
4.
Pontiac and Buick with 2 apiece. Dodge and Oldsmobile with 1 apiece. There's your stats. Who's going to win Saturday's race?
You know, I always end up picking a Toyota team, and it's mostly Joe Gibbs. You know, with the way how Martin Truex Jr. has been winning here at Pocono. The last time he won Pocono was 2018 in the spring. And he's just been really good when it comes to the tricky triangle. So you know what? Or you say don't, Austin. I'm gonna pick Martin Truex Jr. to win the first race at Pocono, but I'm also going. I'm going to pick Alex Bowman, a long shot to win The second race at
You
Pocono.
You made me do it. You made me do it.
We're better than that. Okay, so listen, Martin Truex Jr. here. Okay, first and foremost, he won for Furniture Row and actually scored his third career win in 2015, and then his second to last win at Furniture Row back in 2018. But here's my case. I just don't see Truex winning race one. Race one is going to be Alex Bowman, because remember, he finished third back in 2018. And then race two will be if Ryan Blaney finally broke through in 2020, there's only one more driver that is still knocking on that door to victory lane. Kyle Busch. 3 wins.
Knew it. Knew it!
Oh boy.
All right, let's hear your picks, Austin.
Well, depending on who. I'm sticking with him forever, and I don't care how long it takes. Jimmy Johnson. Sorry.
That was very decorative.
Johnson, 2 in a row. You know what? It's been that long since he's been in victory lane. Man, it's been 3 years, man. 3 years. I'm sorry. You made me have to go there, Austin. 3 years, man. Since we've seen victory lane. 3 years. It's been very frustrating. That's why I have to pick different drivers now. So my picks stay the same.
All right. So yeah, there are our predictions. Let's go into Xfinity Series for round 12 of 30 for the Pocono Green 225. Cole Custer won the race last year. While the first race was won back in 2016, won by Kyle Larson, there are no multiple winners. So I'm just going to run them down here. For no multiple winners for drivers or teams. So 2016, as I mentioned, Kyle Larson scored the win in the inaugural Pocono 225, driving for Chip Ganassi Racing Chevy. Brad Keselowski won in 2017, and the last lap pass, driving for Team Penske and a Ford. Kyle Busch won in 2018 for Joe Gibbs Racing in a Toyota, and last year was Cole Custer for Stewart-Haas Racing in a Ford. For most make wins, Ford with 2, Chevy and Toyota with 1. There are no former winners on the entry list as of now. I mean, it could change. So, for what we have, who's going to win this race?
I think Cole Custer could get it done again this
He's
year.
not in this race.
Wait, no.
Oh.
Shit. I totally forgot. He's in Cup now. You know what? I picked Noah Gragson to win at Talladega.
We are not at Talladega.
No.
We are at Pocono.
Hold on, man. Let me finish. I picked Noah Gragson to win at Talladega. That didn't happen. So I'm going to pick him for Pocono.
Okay.
That was my fault. But, my head's wound up. I've been up since 7 in the morning.
Go to bed early next time. Stop getting up that early. Just an Allgaier for me.
Justin Allgaier's got to stop the bleeding one way or another in 2020. He may be 8th in the points, but, for his standards, 5th or above is where he should be. I, on the other hand, am going with the man who won the Truck Series race last year, Ross Chastain. He's still knocking on that door in 2020 for the Xfinity Series, and his time's going to come now. Okay, so Xfinity out of the way. Let's get into Truck Series. They'll be racing this weekend as well for the Pocono 150 round 6 of 19. As I mentioned, Ross Chastain won the race last year. I guess there's no entry list out yet, if I'm not mistaken. But the first race was back in 2010 and Elliott Sadler took the win. And Kyle Busch is the only driver with multiple victories at 2. So here are all the drivers that had 1 win. Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, William Byron, Austin Dillon, Ryan Blaney, Joey Coulter, Kevin Harvick, and Elliott Sadler all have victories there. So talk about a diverse list of names for drivers. Most team victories, Kyle Busch Motorsports with 4, Kevin Harvick Incorporated and Richard Childress Racing with 2. You combine them because they ran under the same engine and team plant. That would be 4 wins apiece. Most make victories, Chevy with 5, Toyota with 4, and Ford with 1. Who's going to win this one? This very short race.
Oh, is Daniel not there anymore?
Maybe he's in no man's land.
What?
Who's your pick for the truck race at Pocono?
Brett Moffitt.
I'm gonna have to say no, not Grant Inkfinger.
But you said it. Oh.
Johnny Sauter. I'm gonna pick Johnny Sauter.
I'm gonna go with Brett Moffitt.
I said that.
I know. Still my prediction. I got to throw in other drivers like Christian Eckes, but I don't know. It's hard to tell. Stuart Friesen. Remember, Stuart Friesen had that heartbreaker last year on lap 2. He had a very fast truck in qualifying and then just messed up early. Don't count out Stuart Friesen either. He kind of has to stop the bleeding as well. So yeah, I'm still sticking with Brett Moffitt. And let's see what else we have. Supercars. Actually, before we get into supercars, let's talk about ARCA. They have a Pocono race. It's a 200-mile race for round 4. Now, obviously, the ARCA entry list fluctuates like night and day from race to race. But as for the full-time drivers we know that are appearing for that event, who will end up in victory lane?
Hey, take a look at that again. Hang on.
I don't think there's an entry list.
But I just need to remind myself who is full time. I think Riley Herbst.
The big 3 now, Riley Herbst. The big 3 is Drew Dollar, Michael Self, Haley Deegan.
In that case, he goes back to back. Drew Dollar.
Drew Dollar. Michael Self won a race. Drew Dollar won a race. This one hasn't won a race. Haley Deegan.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Drew Dollar here. No. What is Austin doing, man? No. I'll take that my draw and pick Haley Deegan.
I think we got ourselves a demonstration.
See what you made me do? Now fix my bed.
Oh my god! Welcome to the Austin LaPlante Show on the Below the Line podcast.
And just an FYI, I could be going part-time after today, heading back to work next Sunday. Now that took my breath out of me. You talking supercars next?
Yes, indeed.
In this case.
Well, Supercars series begin for the first time since February. It will be week 2 of 10, rounds 3, 4, and 5 of 20. For the Sydney Super Sprint, they have not raced since late February, which feels like ages ago, light years ago, back in Adelaide. So last time they ran at Sydney, it was 2018, known as the Sydney Super Night. Jamie Whincup No. It was Shane Van Gisbergen that won the race, not Jamie Whincup. Danny, I need your help. My mind ain't right. But yeah, Shane Van Gisbergen, not his teammate, Jamie Whincup, won the last time back in 2018. First race was won by John Bowe back in 1992. Mark Scaife has the most victories at Sydney with 6 over Marcus Ambrose, Craig Lowndes, who have 3, Glenn Seddon, and Shane Van Gisbergen with 2 wins apiece. Jamie Whincup has only 1 win, by the way. That was in 2016. Most wins for a team: Holden Racing Team with 7, 888 Race Engineering with 4, DJR Team Penske with 3, and Glenn Seddon Racing with 2. Holden has 13 wins over Ford with 10 in the manufacturers category. So, Danny, if you're still alive somehow, who are you going to pick for race 1? I guess he disappeared.
So I wish I could put my input, but I just can't get into Supercross.
Supercar.
Close enough. Has the word super in it.
Yes. See, Danny and I would be perfect for this conversation right now, but I don't know. He decided to just run to space so far. And yeah.
This will get his attention. Weed!
You know, no, don't give him any bait. I'm just going to get into my race predictions here myself. Because he doesn't like him and I like him, Jamie Whincup's going to win race 1. Race 2 will be Shane Van Gisbergen, and race 3 will be David Reynolds. Holden will sweep because go Holden. And I'm sorry, but Scott McLaughlin's going to get stopped in 2020. This is not his season. 2019 was the last dance, if you've been watching any of that Michael Jordan stuff in the last pandemic. While I wait for Danny to show up, I will list the point standings for the 2020 season, as I'm all by myself because, sometimes you can't always get what you want. And in the points lead, it is Scott McLaughlin, 288 points over Jamie Whincup, who won the season opener. Race 1 at Adelaide, 261. Chaz Moster is in third with 231, driving for Waukesha Andretti United. Cam Waters is fourth for Tickford Racing. Will Davison is fifth, but he is without a ride, unfortunately, due to side effects from the COVID-19 pandemic. And 23 Red Racing, which really sucks. David Reynolds, 6th. Lee Holdsworth, 7th. Fabian Coulthard, Mark Winterbottom is 8th. Fabian Coulthard, 9th. And Rick Kelly, 10th. Andre Heimgartner, 11th. Nick Percat, 12th. Shane Van Gisbergen. Yeah, my pick for race 2, 13th. Todd Hazelwood, 14th. And Jack LeBrock, 15th. Zane Goddard, 16th. Macaulay Jones, Bryce Fullwood, Jack Smith, Anton DePasquale, Scott Pye, James Courtney, Chris Pither, Gary Jacobson, Jake Kostecki, and Alex Davison. So, yeah, just 26 drivers in the points standings. And right as soon as I get into supercars, I guess my two guys here decide to go ahead and run in La La Land. whatever that means. But yeah, as for VLN in sports car racing, VLN is the in-house racing series for the Nürburgring. In the entire Nürburgring 24-hour circuit, 24-hour circuit that runs both the Grand Prix and the Nordschleife, basically allowing drivers to earn their license to race in the Nürburgring 24 hours, an ADAC sanctioned race, and as for practice for teams in the situation. So VLN races are 4 hours long usually, and they're very, very inclusive. They allow a lot of different drivers from backgrounds to come in and race. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of drivers in teams that aren't able to make it as they plan. The 24 hours of Nürburgring will be on the weekend of September 24th to 27th of this year, if it all goes as planned. However, there's another 24-hour race that has made headlines over last night because an interesting fact happened, or is going to happen, and will impact the 24 hours of Spa. And the 24 hours of Spa, which usually is around late July, early August, but due to the pandemic, we're going to be racing on October 22nd to 25th. And during the actual 24-hour race, due to Central European summertime, which is what we call daylight savings time here in North America, the race will actually be 25 hours in length. 25 hours long instead of 24. And the time change will be happening in the race. And I find that bizarre. Oh, hey, you're back, Danny.
Yeah.
I was just talking about my picks for supercars and you disappeared.
Oh god.
There are 3 races. You want to make your picks now?
For Super Sprint.
Yeah. Who's gonna win race 1? I want to hear your pick before I give you mine.
You know what? I'm gonna put my DJR Team Penske pride aside for just one race and say Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yes.
But the other 2 races are all Scott McLaughlin, baby.
Okay, race 1. I said it before to the entire public world. I'll say it again. Jamie Whincup will get his second win of the season. Shane Van Gisbergen will win race 2, and David Reynolds will win race 3.
I hate you, Joseph. I hate you, Joseph.
I told you this would be a special prediction, and
you know what? The fact that you picked those guys, 2 out of them I don't like. 2 out of them I don't like. One being that Jimmy Whincup is just, gosh, man, I don't know. I really don't know why I hate him, but I really do. But he usually just cheats. But David Reynolds, I'm just not a fan of. I'm not.
why? Because of Townsville, right? Yeah.
No, it's not because of. It's not because of
The
Townsville.
city of Townsville. Sorry, I had to do that. Continue on.
It's not
Carl
because
Pop
of,
reference.
It's not because of. It's not because of Townsville. I just not happen to be a fan of him. I mean, he is a good driver. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just not a fan of him.
Right. Obviously, my favorite driver of all time,
And
Craig
Shane
Lowndes,
Van
retired.
Gisbergen, I like. Shane Van Gisbergen, I like. I don't have any kind of hate towards him.
But yeah, Van Gisbergen, of course, right now, remember, only 2 races were complete in the season. and Van Gisbergen is down to 13th in points because he retired after race 2 at Adelaide during the Adelaide 500. So yeah, the Sydney Super Sprint will go through the standard points reward system, which means you get 150 points for winning, 138 per second. Melbourne's traditional standings, obviously, that's not going to apply to this year because they have a 4-race weekend. But yeah, Sydney will have 3 races, and then let me just look on the rest of the schedule here. Winton for 2020 will be on July 18th to 19th. Darwin Triple Crown will be August 8th through 9th. August 29th to 30 will be Townsville. Sandown, September 19th to 20th. Bathurst, traditional date, October 8th through 11th. Perth, October 31st to 1st of November. November 21st to 22nd will be Tasmania. And then Sydney Super Night will be December 12th to 13th. But here's the thing. They'll be visiting Sydney twice. And this might be a telltale of a championship implication being put at stake here. Who knows? But I'm so excited to see these cars back on the racetrack, especially since Holden's on their final year as a factory-supported manufacturer in supercars, and I'd hate to see them go.
Yeah, man, it's very unfortunate. It's very heartbreaking, to say the least.
Yeah, very. As of some other things that we've learned, James Davison, since we were just talking about supercars, James Davison, who his brothers race in supercars, they actually raced together in the Bathurst 1000 last year. Will and Alex is set to make his NASCAR Cup Series debut at Pocono, driving for Spire Motorsports with backing from Hayward and Jonathan Bird's Racing. If you were not familiar, James Davison was supposed to run the Daytona 500 for Hayward and Birds, but I guess the plans fell through. They were never shown as being withdrawn from the race, but it was pretty unfortunate because I was very curious to see if they can make the 500. Obviously, they'll appear, but with help from Spire. So I'm glad to see them make their debut at Pocono. Let me see what else. Yeah, NASCAR Hall of Fame happened this past week. Just saying, don't forget about that. So, congratulations to Red Farmer, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mike Stefanik, and Landmark Award winner Ralph Seagraves for being inducted into the 2021 NASCAR Hall of Fame.
In my eyes, I feel a bit disappointed.
Yeah.
One, for most popular. Second one, mainly because he passed away recently. Third, didn't really race much in the main Cup series that we know today. Mainly the modified pre-modern era as well. But that's all I gotta say as well. That's all I gotta say for that.
I think
I'm not disrespecting the Landmark Award, even though it basically made NASCAR what it is today with Winston as the sponsor throughout 2003. But I'm going to only respect that. Danny, I was going to ask you for your thoughts.
Man.
You don't have to.
Nah, it's fine. I really don't have anything else in mind when it comes to that. Joseph?
Oh yeah, WWE kind of took my attention there with Monday Night
Stop
Raw.
watching the Playboy channel.
Oh boy, dude.
You mean WWE? Okay,
Fake.
okay. Yeah.
You know,
Um,
before anything else, man. Honestly, it sucks that we don't have Surface Paradise on the calendar anymore.
well, I mean, it's just for 2020. I'm not gonna fret about that, but
Yeah,
sometimes things happen. And
and on top of that, it was a
City Tracks took the biggest hit, in my opinion.
yeah, Sydney. Wait,
City Tracks, City, City, not
yeah,
City.
Sydney, yeah.
Long Beach.
Okay. Like
How are you gonna hold a race
Surface
behind closed
Paradise
doors?
was- And on top of that, it was supposed to be a night race.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would be
Oh,
very
yeah.
interesting.
Pictures and photo ops would be perfect everywhere. Kind of like the inaugural Singapore Grand Prix that unfortunately is now known as Crash Gate.
Crashgate.
Boy, oh boy. Dale Jarrett, as we learned during the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction as they were broadcasting on NBC, Dale Jarrett is recovering from COVID-19. He looked pretty healthy during the broadcast from his home in quarantine, but obviously that's not a place anybody wants to be in, and I'm glad to see him fighting through it. Let's see what else we have. Speaking of COVID-19, we've seen auto manufacturers, lose employees and have to make decisions they don't want to make. But unfortunately, Volvo has joined that list. They have laid off over 4,000 employees due to financial issues from the COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, we learned about Porsche's decisions, and obviously, probably the most obvious one was McLaren. Where does this stand? Danny,
Excuse me.
where does Volvo in the layoffs? How does that affect them?
You know, it really does affect them a lot in a big way. Being that Volvo was a manufacturer in the supercar series, and when they took off, it was, it was a really big shock, being that they only spent 2 years in supercars.
Yeah, I think I agree about that because there are decisions people don't want to make, and obviously it's now. I'm just reading another article. 4,100 employees in March. They laid off 20,000 employees from AB
That's-
Volvo, which is the truck plant that they have in Sweden.
Yeah, that was very heartbreaking, man. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping that those same employees get rehired somewhere in the near future, or they might even go to another auto auto factory and build different cars. Like Saab or Koenigsegg.
I mean, we saw McLaren lay off over 1,200 staff members, roughly 25% of its workforce, according to CNBC.com. So I think this is just another effect of this terrible situation everyone's living in, which is COVID-19.
Yeah.
Speaking of COVID-19, more updates as a result of this pandemic. Formula E took a pretty big hit in March, but their final 6 races will be ran in August at the Berlin Airport Circuit.
I'm really starting to watching all of those races right now. In fact, I basically finished the 2017-2018 season. I'm really enjoying it as well.
They have been entertaining.
So something I should probably be easy to probably talk about in the future, but just not right now.
Yeah.
Haven't got up to that season just yet.
So yeah, the 2019-2020 season will end at Berlin behind closed doors, just like they did with the AMA Supercross series, running their last 7 races at Salt Lake City without fans. Let's see what else we have. Oh yeah, speaking of racing in Europe, a team called Black Falcon, who has won the Nürburgring 24 Hours twice and 5 times in the Bathurst 24
24
Dubai
hours.
Dubai 24
Oh,
hours.
2 hours, 24 hours of Dubai. Okay.
Yeah, 5-time 24 Hours of Dubai winner and 2-time 24 Hours of Nürburgring winner. Black Falcon Racing has left GT3 competition and has sold their equipment to Haput Racing Team.
And a lot of people are asking, who is this Hakud racing team that's coming up now? Or have they been around for a while?
And I think this is just probably something pandemic related once again that you hate to see. Such a top team just pull out like that. And well, we've seen it before. They never made it to Portimao for the 24-hour race last week. So let's see what else we have here. Supercar has revised their 2020 schedule. Unfortunately, they will not have any racing at Newcastle
For the
Surface
season
Paradise.
And is it for this year?
No
alone?
racing in New Zealand either.
Is it only for this year alone?
Only for this year. I have a great feeling they are coming back next year, but I'm not so sure about Newcastle because we've seen the local public make efforts against having a race there, which they debuted in 2017. So there's a pretty good chance that there are more factors behind the pandemic preventing the race from happening at Newcastle.
Oh boy.
Let's see what else we have.
Honestly,
go on.
I really did like the Newcastle track layout because it kind of reminded me of Monaco, with when you're on the front stretch and you make that left turn going onto the straights like Bathurst and then making another left to go through the S's in that corner. You have the ocean on the right hand side.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. And honestly, with that being gone now, I kind of miss it. I'm gonna kind of miss it.
I just wish that the fans could be a little more appreciative.
Yeah,
because it's not like there are people right now who are begging for a street circuit outside their front yard, or in most cases, balcony. Let me see what else we have. Anything else I haven't covered yet? Unfortunately, we have sad news. If you watch Superbike racing in Great Britain, Benjamin Godfrey was killed in an accident at Donington Park at the age of 25. Which is just awful news. That came out Sunday. Ben Godfrey, 25 years old, just You hate to see that side of racing.
You really do. And on the top of that, he's so young. He's a year. Come to think of it, he's a year older than me. You know, that could have been me on that bike. And God forbid, that doesn't happen to me. You know, but that kind of stings when he was just gone too soon. You know.
Yeah. Speaking of some unfortunate news, if you've heard this past week that two-time IndyCar champion Alex Zanardi was seriously injured in a hand bike crash during a race in Italy. He collided into a vehicle, according to a report, and has been airlifted into a hospital in Italy. And I'm going to pull up an article just to see where he's been. So here's an update from Autosport.com. They're a pretty credible website. I suggest you subscribe to their articles.
No.
I do. And so here's this recent article from them, and it actually came out 53 minutes ago. Alex Zanardi remains in a stable but serious condition following a hand biking accident, with doctors hoping to evaluate the next stages of his treatment over the next few days. So it seems like he's progressing a little bit. If you don't know, ex-Formula One driver and two-time kart champion Alex Zanardi had a crash that nearly took his life in a kart race, which is, of course, IndyCar today, back in 2001, during one of the most horrifying weeks in history. Just a few days after 9/11, they were the first American forms of motorsports to race. They raced in Germany during that week, so they weren't in the States when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
But if you're a racing fan, it was like you got a black eye just watching that wreck, which unfortunately resulted in his legs being amputated. But his racing career did not finish. He had every right in the world to leave motorsports. We've seen drivers do that before, but he wanted to show to the world that he can do more than what he can't do. And he made a return to touring car racing with success throughout the 2000s and has been recently racing sports cars and endurance races. We saw him race the Spa 24 Hours a few times. And with BMW's new technology, the innovative technology in 2019, using hand controls, Alex Zanardi was able to race in the 2019 24 Hours of Daytona for the BMW factory team. They finished ninth in their class.
That was that was probably one of the greatest comebacks in motorsport ever.
Yeah. Zanardi is now 53 years old, and we're just hoping for the best.
Yeah, man. It's times like this, you know, things happen that are so unfortunate, but you know, you really have to pray for Alex Zanardi.
Yeah, and don't forget, he has many Paralympic gold medals to his name.
Yeah.
In hand biking. So just pulling for you, Zanardi, and hopefully we'll be back here with better news next week. As for Supercross, as I mentioned, Eli Tomac wins his first championship in the Supercross division. But as for motocross, we'll be back on July 18th for the Ironman. Well, didn't we have a race with horses?
Yeah, we did.
One you were supposed to attend.
This past weekend at Belmont Park, we had the first race of the Triple Crown, which was the Belmont Stakes. Now, the Belmont Stakes is usually the last leg of the Triple Crown. Now, with this whole pandemic going on, it's now the first race of the Triple Crown, where tis the law. The 4 to 5 favorite gets the job done with Bob Baffert, with Bob Baffert, the owner, getting his first race win with the jockey Emmanuel. Gosh, I can't remember his name. Manuel, getting his first win ever as a jockey in the biggest race, one of the biggest races in the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes. Now we have two more races, which is the Kentucky Derby in September 5th and the Preakness Stakes in October.
Yep. You were at the Belmont Stakes last year, and I was so jealous. I wanted to race, or not race. I'd fail a horse race. I would love to attend a horse race.
If it was an NR track, maybe.
You know what? You know what, Austin?
I'm gonna do my research and see if someone has that track on Enter 2003, and I'll have some fun with it myself.
You know, Belmont Park is like the biggest mile-and-a-half horse racing track in the United States. You know, I understand that I wanted to go again this year, but there was the whole pandemic. But last year was so much fun. Last year it was a lot of fun, despite one of the horses in the paddock nearly bit my hand. I'll never forget that. But last year was a lot of fun.
Well, that's great. Good story. I never get tired of hearing your stories at being at Belmont Park. And one of these days, I will join you in attendance. But obviously, 2020 will not be the case, as did Martinsville and Homestead. That's why our last episode said wish we were there. But things don't always go our way. Well, episode 65 will be next week. I think we reached a good stopping point near 10 o'clock. I am tired. I think we've all had a long weekend. Long day. And it's I guess bedtime is on the loop for me. Any final thoughts before I close it?
Don't be stupid. Do the right thing. Never do the wrong thing. Stay safe. Be smart. And don't be like people from the South.
Yeah.
I find that the most disgraceful thing. And then now 24 years of my life. Besides 9/11, but I don't remember much of that. Daniel?
Yeah. This today was just been the most. Gosh, man, I really don't have words for today. Today, with the NASCAR community rallying about Bubba, was breathtaking. It was so amazing, you know. An despicable act of yesterday, you know. It's honestly it's very sickening, and honestly, I really wish I didn't have to talk about it, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like it didn't happen.
I think if this world be a better place, then if you want the world to be a better place, then I think we should all stop hurting each other. Stop trying to make people, feel excluded in the world and just discouraged. I think I've seen enough.
Yeah,
There's too much hatred, too much bigotry, racism, ignorance in the world. I mean, something so heinous could happen this past weekend. It blows my mind. But I'm so glad Bubba Wallace, even though he didn't finish in the top 10, he still got 14th. He led a lap. He was in it to win it, and we got to see humanity in the pits. That was the correct response to the heinous act from one horrible human being in the garage area last night. What NASCAR did as a collective is something that's applaudable, and I'm very, very happy they did this, and that tells me that NASCAR has a bright future ahead. If they keep showing the way out from hatred, we'll be the way in to new fans and new opportunities. With that said, thank you so much for watching the podcast for episode 64. Remember, my partners Austin LaPlante and Daniel Ford. I'm Joe Lenny Pavon. We'll see you next week for episode 65. Till then, have a good one.